Hi guys, welcome back. This is a follow-up from my last video, which was a hobby rider's experience at the Xross Hard Enduro Rally. And in this video I just want to talk about the bike and some of the things that I carry on the bike. We'll talk about my tools, we'll talk about my GPS, tank bag and things that I will carry in the airbox as well. And we'll just have a look at the overall sort of condition of the bike after that event. As I said in the previous video, if you've watched it, nothing bent, nothing broken. So let's get a close look at the bike now. Just before we start looking at the bike closely, I'll just relay a quick story to you, which you might find quite funny. But after the Xross event, I was in the paddock after the event had finished. We were loading the bikes up or getting things ready to be loaded up in the vans. And a guy who was in one of the teams close by said to me, "Oh, you bought a bike off AliExpress." And I started laughing at him, and and he says, "What's it like?" I said, "Well, I've done the event on it." And he just like looked at me, taken back as if to say, "I don't believe you." And you know, sure as eggs are eggs, we have done, haven't we? You know, and he was like laughing, and I says, "Yeah." I said, "I've done the event." He says, "What's it like? Does it hold up?" And I says, "Take a look for yourself, have a look around the bike." And he was really surprised. And that's a stereotypical sort of attitude we get when somebody says, "Oh, I bought a bike from China," and just think it's a piece of junk and it's going to fall apart. Well, we've actually proved different, haven't we? We really have proved differently. You know, the last couple of years with the GPX bikes, we've proved to be strong bikes, particularly, you know, the TSE 250R, which I sold recently. You know, 250 plus hours on that, and new owners really happy with it. This particular bike, we've now got 104.5 hours, and I'll show you the hour meter in a moment or so. But let's just have a quick look. We'll talk about the tyre for one, because this is a Michelin Extreme tyre which is on. And this is the only tyre that I used in the Xross event. The tyre was put on before we travelled out, so I did the climatisation ride on it. I did the one of the prologue on it. I did the first day off-road, and then I turned the tyre, and then we did days 2 and 3 off-road as well. And the tyre survived. Just like, you know, it's a little bit beat up in places. It's got the odd knobble missing now, but this tyre went the distance. It's got a soft mousse, and you can sort of see how hot it was, because when the bike was parked up after the event, the silicone grease started sort of oozing out of the tyre, because there's probably a few little holes in there now, and you can see there's a little hole where the grease has been coming out. But that tyre went the distance. The conditions at Xross this year were absolutely exceptional in terms of the heat, but I would say also exceptional in terms of the amount of grip that you could get. You could just find the traction zone all the time when you're riding the bike. Keep the bike in the traction zone. There was no need to spin the wheel. Just keep it in the sort of low torque, and it would just keep gripping and gripping and gripping. Even on some of the steepest hills, it was pretty insane. It really was insane. But you know, these are expensive tyres, and one of the lessons I've learned is, you know, when you're doing an event like this, I would always put the best tyre that I can afford on. If you're doing something like an international hard enduro, always go for the best tyre you can afford. So really happy with the Michelin, but I know there's other tyres out there which are probably just as good, like the Plus Tough One, which I've yet to try, and I'll be trying one of those once I'm sort of fighting fit, shall I say. I'm just still suffering with an upper arm and shoulder injury at the moment. So I'm not going to be riding for probably at least another 3 or 4 weeks. But moving on, this guard, this is one I fitted. This is off a KTM, it's off a one of the older bikes that I had. I kept it. I think this was off my 2019 bike, TPI bike, which I took off when I did the initial build, and I kept it in a box, and I thought I fit it on this because after events like dawn to dusk, I found that there's a lot of mud getting trapped in the front sprocket area, getting dragged through by the chain, and people saying you should have a chain guard on. So I thought I'd run a chain guard again, and we'll see how it goes, see if it keeps the dirt out of the front sprocket. But you can just see as we run along the bike, you know, these are doing the job. We've got the BRP chain block. These are absolutely brilliant. The BRP chain block, well worth the money. I think they're over £100 UK, but they last and they last and they last, and they don't, you know, they don't bend or give. The TM design ones, I find that they're too soft and they get pushed over, and the TM design ones have 2 bolts in here, where this has got like an aluminium piece what goes through it, and it's fastened from the other side. The TM design ones tend to get damaged a lot easier. These, I think, are the best at the moment. The ZF sprocket we've got on, happy with that. Just looking at some of the bodywork, you know, the GPX graphics have really held out, considering all the rubbing that they've had on them. And you know, if you're interested in this, I'll just get my torch. I've just got my torch now. Now, if you're wondering how I fasten my rear grab handle, you'll see that I use these. These are basically cargo loops out of a van, and there's that one there. If I can get the torch in so it's not reflecting. You see that one. These are just perfect for the job on this bike, for attaching the rear haul loop on. So just looking down the bike, we've got the seat. Let's put the torch away. GPX seat. The standard TSE 300 seat is great. It's really nice and it's wide, so you can get quite a lot of comfort for sort of all day riding. Really impressed with that. It's good. The keying carb we've got on, happy with that at the moment. Just moving on, we've still got the original front pipe on it, with no real dints in it actually at all. We've got a little dink there under here. We'll just go around the other side. I'll just talk about these little bits in a minute, but yeah, I've got one dink there and a dink there, but generally the front pipe, this is the original front pipe, what's done some service, really going well. And again, just looking at the overall sort of condition of the bike, it is looking clean. We've got a different kickstart lever to standard. Now you can see I've just got a couple of marks on there where I've had to use the kickstart and it's caught on the foot peg. But the standard kickstart lever, it wasn't the best, and I found that after a few times of using it, the actual lever bent slightly. So I wanted, you know, something a bit better. So I went for a KTM lever, KTM kickstart lever. The original lever, I spoke to James at GPX Motor UK and he was going to feed that back to the factory about the quality of it. So hopefully we might see a change in the standard kickstart levers at some point. We've got the S3 foot pegs, really happy with them. Like any foot pegs, aftermarket ones, they can be quite sharp, so I just ran the sanding disc over these just to stop my boots getting wrecked. We've taken the sump guard off since we got back, just for basically to start getting things cleaned, and I drained the coolant off. Now you're probably aware that we've got the issue with the electrics where it's not charging properly. as it should be doing. So we are going to be putting a new loom on. I'll just take the seat off and just explain a couple of things. If we get that out. So we've still got the battery disconnected from transport. As you can see, the hours on there, 104.5. Still got the Serbian dirt on it. But yeah, we've still got the electrical issue. So one of the big jobs in the next sort of month or so is going to be the wiring loom, and that should be arriving. Hopefully, should have one by the sort of end of July. So I'm travelling to Romania in a couple of weeks anyway, which will take a bit of time up. So hopefully, when I'm back from that trip, I should have the parts here. In terms of the cooling system, obviously it was quite hot in Serbia, and we were experiencing a lot of fan operation, and we were sort of boiling up at times. And what I found is that the standard rad cap is a 1.3 bar pressure release on it. So what we're doing is we are going to upgrade that to a 1.8, and we're also going to have one what's got a thermometer type display on, so I can see what engine temperatures is like. So that's the next job. We've also taken the thermo switch out of the bottom of the radiator here, which is there, and what I found is this is set to operate at 80 degrees, which is too low. It really wants to be sort of towards the 90-degree mark before it starts operating the fan. So I've ordered a new switch, and we'll see how we go with that one. You can get different operating settings on these switches. There's about 6 or 7 settings from 65 degrees up to 93 degrees centigrade. So we'll get a new thermo switch fitted, and we're also going to run some engine ice as well when we refill the cooling system. You see there, pain is an illusion. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. So up front we've got a tank bag. I'll just move things a little bit. This is just a cheap Jiffy tank bag. You can pick them up for like 10 quid, sometimes a bit cheap if you look. The sort of things I would have in here, I've got a spare pair of glasses in that little pouch there, some safety glasses which are also like bifocal reading glasses. I've also got a tow rope, and this has got like a carabiner on each end, and it's adjustable. Basically it's just it's a strap with a carabiner on each end, fully adjustable. It adjusts to around sort of 7 to 8 feet in length, and it's great for just like if you want to clip it onto your haul loop, if you want to lower your bike down like a really steep descent in certain situations where you can't ride your bike down, you just want to lower it down by hand, sort of situations we get into. And you can also clip it on the front. It's really good for recovery as well. I've used it for recovering my bike as well when I've gone off track. You can clip it and pull it from a distance, so you are getting yourself onto some firm ground before you start pulling the bike. Up front we've got the GPS. We've got a Garmin e-Trex 30 in a J mount, a nice rubber J mount. And if you're wondering what this bit of plastic is here, that is basically, it's a little bit of Bic biro. It's cut off, so when your GPS is on and it's all set up, and it won't work in here because we need satellite signal for it to operate, but you'll have to do it outside. But once the GPS is set up and you're happy with your distances and your viewing sort of position on the GPS, all you need to do is add this there, just push it on, and it will stop you knocking the toggle button. So the GPS is now set for the day to use, just to follow the line. So there you go, that's just a useful tip which I picked up a few years ago when I started using the eTrex GPS devices. Also up front we've got a little toolkit. I'll drag this out and sort of show you what's in there. Let's take it into the workshop and just get it on the bench. Just trying to do everything one-handed at the moment. Just tip it out. So just a zip canvas tool bag. In here we've got a spark plug. We've got a 21mm spanner for the spark plug. We've got a piece of fuel hose with a clip on there. We've got a 10mm spanner, 13mm spanner. We've got an 8mm T-bar. We've also got some other T-bar fittings in there, some Torx fittings. There's a 6, there's a 10, a T45, there's a T40 in there. We've got a 14mm spanner, that's if I need to change a rear brake lever. We've got a pocket knife, a pair of pliers. In fact, there's another piece of fuel hose. We've also got 2 pieces of fuel hose. So that's just a little bit of a kit what I need. It's like anything. You need to decide how much you're going to take with you. You can't take the kitchen sink. You've got to just decide, yeah, what in the real situation, what we're going to need. If I've done my maintenance correctly, I shouldn't need to adjust my chain. My chain and sprocket should be in tip-top condition, so should my chain guides. I've got a really heavy duty rear sprocket on, so the likelihood of me damaging the rear sprocket or having a chain derailed because of the equipment I've got on the bike is very, very slim. It can happen, but if it does, it'll be a worst case scenario and it'll just be one of those, just have to suck it and get on with it. But ideally, these are the tools that I would probably most likely need if I want to take the tank off, change a spark plug, tear the fuel hose, it gets caught on a branch or something. So I've got a spare piece of fuel hose there. Knife to undo the cable ties, to cut the cable ties, which holds some of the spare parts to the bike. And also I'll need that to take my GPS off. So let's go back in there. So yeah, just talking about the GPS again very quickly. The GPS is held on with a steel cable, just a bit of bicycle brake cable which I've made into a tether. I've got it out, and that's the back of the GPS. As you can see, it's just got a steel cable through it, and that goes through the drain hole on the J mount, and then we just have cable tied that to the handlebars. It works. I've had in previous instances the J mount come away from the handlebars and it's only been hanging by this, so it saved it getting lost. So it's well worth sort of thinking about if you are going to run a GPS. I like to just run one GPS. I think that's enough for me, to be quite honest. I don't need to run 2. For the faster riders, I think it's beneficial probably to run 2 GPSs. But me, I'm a slower rider, I don't need that. So as you can see on the front of the bike, on the rad louver, I've got a spare gear lever here, and these rad louvers, you see I've got these little rubbers. These are basically side stand rubbers which I've put through there, and they just make it so much easier when it comes to taking the tank off the bike. Quick release, and it's like that on the other side as well. That's that. You can see on the other side. And then behind the headlight mask, we've got a couple of levers. We've got a front brake lever and a clutch lever cable tied behind there. Now one of the things that I've done is I've changed the front brake lever to a Brembo lever, so it is fully adjustable on the fly with the adjusting screw. Now one of the things I had to do, if I can pull the rubber off, that's it. You can see in the master cylinder itself, I had to just replace the GPX plunger with a Brembo plunger, which I had one spare in my toolbox. But you know, as far as the brakes go, I'm really happy with the GPX brakes. No problems at all with them. I mean, the bike went with minimum maintenance during the Xross event. And when I say minimum maintenance, it was pretty much basically I had to adjust the chain once because it was a brand new chain, and that was after day one. Just adjusted that slightly. It was just changing air filter every day. We didn't do gearbox oil. We didn't even change any of the brake or clutch fluids or any of the brake pads. Everything was just good throughout. Now what I will say is, after that event, I'm going to need a new front disc, because the downhill sections were quite severe, so you're on the brakes all the time, so the front disc is quite scored now, but that's the original front disc. So like 104.5 hours, it's done really well. All this sort of stuff, the protection stuff, works. You know, we've got a couple of scuffs on the caliper, but I'm not worried about that because that's what I would call a consumable part anyway. But the main parts of the forks, like I like to protect, are the feet of the forks. I don't like them getting marked up. I don't like them getting dinted. I like to sort of preserve the integrity of those, so it's important to have this sort of protection on. And likewise on the opposite side, having the foot protector there, it just keeps everything nice. In the airbox, pull that off. We've got a rear brake lever in there. That's cable tied in. And yeah, something I've just taken out is I normally keep a tube of 2-stroke oil in there as well, just in case we have to get fuel and it's not pre-mixed. I can do some pre-mix. So I always carry 100 millilitres of oil in the airbox. As you can see, we've still got dirt in the foot pegs and things, but you know, the front tyre is a C19 Mitas. That's done quite well. It's still got quite a lot of life in that. We'll probably put a new tyre on this though, and relegate that to the 450. We'll get a few hours on the 450 with that, I think. But we'll put a brand new tyre on that when we do the tyre on the back. And just looking at the handguards, these are a combination of Enduro Engineering plastic fronts, Enduro Engineering brackets here and here, and the actual handguard frames are AliExpress jobs. They are a cheap aluminium frame, but they've done the job. They really have done the job. They've held up. The bike was dropped a few times, and I didn't have to adjust them once. That's probably more down to the Enduro Engineering brackets, but we didn't have to adjust them at all. But overall, I think there's not a lot needs doing other than oil change, air filter. We'll do the wiring loom, just basically cleaning, lubing up, front disc, and it'll be good to go again. So there you go, that's my bike from AliExpress. What's done Xross? What more can I say? It's done the job. Does what it says on the tin. Back soon guys with something else. me down.